The Curse of the Black Cat. It all started on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday. I was walking home from work, my mind preoccupied with mundane thoughts about dinner plans and weekend errands. As I rounded the corner onto my street, I saw it, a sleek black cat sitting directly in my path. Its fur was a deep, glossy black, and its eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity. I shrugged it off as just another stray and continued on my way, carefully stepping around the animal. The next morning, the cat was there again, sitting on my front steps as if it had been waiting for me all night. I bent down to shoo it away, but it simply stared at me with those piercing eyes, unflinching. I felt a chill run down my spine but pushed the feeling aside. Surely, it was just a coincidence. Over the next few days, the cat's presence became impossible to ignore. It followed me everywhere, down the street to the grocery store, even to work. My colleagues started to notice, casting curious glances and making jokes about my new pet, but I knew something was wrong. The cat's eyes seemed to follow me, its gaze penetrating, almost accusatory. Things took a darker turn when misfortune began to strike those around me. My neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, slipped and broke her leg. My co-worker Tom got into a car accident. Worst of all, my best friend Sarah fell seriously ill. The doctors couldn't explain it and she slipped into a coma within days. Each time the cat was there watching. I couldn't ignore the pattern any longer. The cat was no ordinary stray, it was a harbinger of doom. I began to research obsessively, delving into old books and obscure websites. I found stories of cursed black cats throughout history, creatures said to bring misfortune and death to those they followed. The accounts were chillingly similar to my own experience. Desperation led me to seek out the help of a local occultist, a reclusive woman named Agnes who lived on the edge of town. She listened to my story with a grave expression, her eyes narrowing as I described the cat's behavior and the tragedies that had befallen those around me. "You're dealing with an ancient curse," she said finally. "The cat is a familiar, bound to a malevolent spirit. It feeds on the suffering and misfortune it causes. To break the curse, you must find the source of the spirit's power and destroy it." Agnes handed me a small, weathered book filled with arcane symbols and cryptic instructions. "This will guide you," she said. "But be warned, the spirit will not let go easily. You must be prepared for a difficult and dangerous journey." Armed with the book and a newfound determination, I began to unravel the mystery of the curse. The instructions led me to an abandoned house on the outskirts of town, a place rumored to be haunted. As I approached, the black cat appeared, its eyes gleaming with malevolent intelligence. It hissed, but I steeled myself and pressed on. Inside, the house was dark and cold, filled with the oppressive weight of years of neglect. I followed the book's instructions, setting up a circle of salt and lighting candles at specific points. The final step was to recite an incantation to summon the spirit and bind it within the circle. As I spoke the words, the air grew colder and a dark, swirling mist began to gather in the center of the circle. The cat's eyes glowed brighter, and it let out a piercing yowl. The mist coalesced into a shadowy figure, its eyes burning with rage. "You dare challenge me?" the spirit hissed, its voice echoing through the room. "You will suffer as they have suffered." Summoning all my courage, I continued the incantation, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at my insides. The spirit writhed and twisted, but it couldn't break free from the circle. With a final desperate cry, it began to dissipate, its form unraveling like smoke in the wind. The cat let out a final, mournful wail before collapsing to the ground. Its body dissolved into a fine mist, leaving no trace behind. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and I knew the curse was broken. In the days that followed, my life slowly returned to normal. Sarah awoke from her coma, and my neighbors and co-workers recovered from their misfortunes. The black cat was gone, and the sense of dread that had haunted me vanished. But I knew I would never forget the terror I had faced. The curse of the black cat had tested my courage and resolve, and though I had triumphed, I couldn't shake the feeling that some dark corner of the world still harbored ancient, malevolent forces, waiting for their next victim.